Well, the reviews are in for Ubisoft's latest live service game, that being Ghost Recon Breakpoint. And, yeah, it didn't go too well. And, to be honest, I'm not really that surprised. So currently the game has a 56 on Metacritic, and it has a 2.6 user score. And if you start reading through it, you'll see a lot of people frustrated with different parts of the game. Specifically, the ones I always see pointed out are disconnects. So you're playing the game, and because the game is always online, it disconnects you, and then you can't play anymore, and you have to restart. Maybe you lost some progress. It's a live service game. That's what tends to happen. And then the other one being the monetization practices that are all over this game. It's not a good look when you spend upwards of $100 for an Ultimate Edition to get access 3 days early, which is the actual release date. They just pushed it back a little bit to then create the Ultimate Edition, but then to get in there and see a cash shop that is several pages long. It is an insane thing to think about, but that's what Ubisoft did. That's what they've been doing. It's not surprising, I think, to see Ubisoft continue to do this after Ubisoft had an entire presentation pointing out that live services are the way of the future. In fact, we'll probably look back at this generation as being the big rise of the live services. And not even like a good rise, like probably a bad rise. I mean, we'll look back on it now and say, oh, we remember Fallout 76, or we remember Anthem, for example, right? Or even at this point, Ghost Recon Breakpoint for what it started as, and possibly what it could eventually get to. Now, I will give Fallout 76 some credit, which sounds crazy, I think, to a lot of people, but it has improved to be at least playable. When it came out, it was super broken. But that's where we are with live services if you really think about it. They launch seemingly too early. Like, they're not actually ready to go, but they're like, oh, it's a live service, so put it out and we'll fix it. They have to be connected online anyway, so they have to call to our servers, and we'll push fixes as we make them happen. It's basically like an MMORPG back in the day. At least, I guess then they were way more upfront about what you were buying into, and a lot of times you would just have more content. For an example, I bought Anthem earlier this year because it looked interesting, I thought it'd be fun, and it was done pretty quick, and I didn't really have any compelling reason to continue to play through it. Beyond that, even, the game felt stretched out already. So, like, they tried to stretch it out to get a little more out of an already short campaign and a pretty much non-existent endgame. Now, they have been adding stuff, but we've also seen EA start to pull people from BioWare, that section anyway, to try to then work, I guess, on Dragon Age. And that's kind of where we are now with that game. We're not sure. We're not sure what's going to happen with it. And that is the problem with live services if they don't get off on this fast, meteoric rise. Because that's what they kind of expect now. But not every live service is bad. Not everyone comes out and is terrible or even works to the point where it becomes irrelevant. I mean, look at Destiny 2. Just had a launch of its latest expansion, and people were so excited online, logging in, playing. And for the most part, Destiny 2 has done pretty well. Destiny 1, I remember that came out and struggled and then turned things around. But Destiny 2 has been doing pretty well despite being basically, yes, a live service game as they say here. But the problem with Ubisoft is they're doing exactly what EA is doing, and that is jam too many live services under their own umbrella of games. Now, they're not as bad as EA. EA pretty much introduces a new annualized sports game every year with FIFA, and it's a live service. Every year it's a live service. They do that, of course, to reset everything from the previous year, and now we're seeing their other sports games all lean into that as well. Even Need for Speed was getting turned into a live service game, which is insane to me. That was always online, back in 2015, and it's really weird to see them try to work live services into every single genre, every single series that they have. It's like they can't just sit there and let one game come out and just be a game. Like, it can't just be like by itself, something you buy, you play, and then you move on to the next thing. Like, they really struggle with that. And I do wonder if it is the investment for the game, because they'll still make it back, or if it's the issues with the shareholders, of course, wanting more and more and more. See, the problem is they've lined themselves up to where they almost can't do a single-player game, sell it for $60, and then move on, because that wouldn't be good enough. They have to match the hundreds of millions of dollars just from those microtransactions every single year. So if FIFA struggled with something like loot boxes and those get taken away, EA's going to look pretty bad to their shareholders. Ubisoft, it's kind of struggling as well when it comes with this, because they see how profitable live services are, but it almost feels like their games are suffering just because they see that profit margin. I mean, look at what Ghost Recon has become at this point, right? If you remember Ghost Recon way back in the day, I mean, I'm talking like way back in the day, like Ghost Recon 2 back in the day, it was a pretty straightforward game. It didn't get too crazy. It didn't try to be this big cinematic production, but people still really liked it. I remember playing with friends all the time, and we would literally do matches on like this back in the day. It's like the Xbox, the PS2 and stuff, and we loved it, right? Even on the 360, people really like Advanced Warfighter and everything. But now it's become basically a big open world style game that has you always online, like at all times. And they've worked in the currency where you have two different currencies, a premium currency and an in-game currency, massive cash shop. And that's kind of what we're seeing with a lot of their stuff. I mean, we're to the point now where you buy skill points from them. And Assassin's Creed did something like that with Experience Booster, right? Where everyone felt like that should have just been part of the game. But you spend $10, I believe, to get that boost, and then all of a sudden the game feels better, it feels less grindy. Very, very odd to have that, and we see something similar with Ghost Recon, where they are fast-tracking you, as they say, in their own words. A new player can essentially fast-track so that they can play with their friends, skipping that $100 game you just bought. Hopefully you're not buying that version now, the Ultimate one, you're just getting the regular one, but consider that. You can fast-track through that game that you just bought for $60. It really is an interesting spin to spend money to get past the money that you've already spent with the content in the game. And then you're going to get to the end of the game, and if you've never played it, but you put the money in to get the skill points, you won't really be well versed to even help that many people in the end game. So you'll have to go back and play some of those missions anyway. It's such a weird concept that they've somehow managed to basically normalize. And I say basically normalize because these games still make money. They make a lot of money. See, now that they don't have to necessarily deal with having to do as much when it comes to packaging and shipping games and selling them in stores, and we're getting to that point where the digital margin is overtaking the physical, it's something else to see, because that's when they will really lean into, well, the live service stuff. They don't have to worry about stocking stuff on shelves. Ubisoft themselves have pointed out that it's a 70-30 split if they just go all digital, whereas if they have to stock stuff, it is like a 55% split. It's something crazy. So Ubisoft wants always online, and they don't really want to have to sell stuff in stores if they don't have to. It's all digital, and they like that, along with EA, and that's why they also have their own launchers on PC. It all kind of comes together for them there if they keep everybody online with live service games. And you have to remember, live service games, they don't always have to play by the same rules. They can change them halfway through. We saw it with Black Ops 4, right? I mean, let's be real, Black Ops is a live service game now. It basically changed things after reviews happen. So reviews take place, people see that there's nothing crazy going on monetization-wise, everything looks fine on the outside, gets good reviews, everyone moves on. 3 months later, bam, microtransactions, basically things that look like loot boxes, little reticles being sold for $1 or $2. It really got aggressive with those monetization practices. Now, on the flip side, Ubisoft was too aggressive when this game came out. They had the skill points, they had a lot of stuff that was locked between premium currency, so what do? They flip it around and they take that stuff out, but they say it's just for now. See, they can add it right back in later after the heat's off, because they know as well as you do, as I do, that Activision's gonna mess up Modern Warfare. It's gonna happen. They're gonna do something crazy, and then when everyone's looking at Modern Warfare, here comes Ubisoft putting them right back into the game. It's live services, things change constantly. And to be honest, it makes me wonder, do I really want Splinter Cell? Like, do I really want Splinter Cell from Ubisoft? Because as of right now, Sam Fisher exists in a cell phone game. Do I really need him right now to kind of fall into place with Ubisoft with what they're doing with their big AAA style games? Do I really need Sam Fisher to be a part of something like this? And do I really want to be let down by a Splinter Cell game that has this same kind of setup, which will fall into Ubisoft's basic formula of building a video game? I almost don't. It sounds bad because I get excited for the prospect of Splinter Cell, but I think I get excited for the prospect of what Splinter Cell was, you know, the Splinter Cell that I remember, that I really liked, or that you remembered, because I would say, you know what, Ubisoft, here's the deal. I don't need a AAA Splinter Cell game. I don't. You don't have to put that kind of money into it. You can put well, what are we doing now? We just grading by AA, AAA. You can put like a AA budget into it, and I think I would still get a kick out of it if it was a straightforward Splinter Cell game and not one that was, let's be real, Splinter Cell ever comes out from Ubisoft, it's gonna be a Ghost Recon style game. Big open world, several people interacting all at once. that's going to be the game. And it's going to be a shame because if they had to monetize Splinter Cell to that degree, I would prefer them to do single player, do what Rockstar does, right? Splinter Cell has its own straight up single player, and then there's a multiplayer that they just monetized like crazy. Just give me that single player game with Splinter Cell. You know, it's like a 8 to 10 hour game. I'll buy it. I'll enjoy it like the old days, and then I'll at least be able to move on. Don't do this always connected online open world game that I know you're probably planning already. I guess the one thing I have to at least give credit to the gaming industry and the gaming world right now, there is pushback for live services. They're not getting great reviews. A lot of gamers online are recognizing what's going on here, and I almost wonder if that live service crash that's been talked about several times now is here or is coming soon. If there's no crash, I at least think that there is some sort of live services fatigue happening right now. And you know what? Ghost Recon, the latest iteration from Ubisoft, the latest live service game they've released, is kind of showing that. But I guess the next big test will be Call of Duty, although that's going to even have a full single-player campaign, so at least that's something. Ubisoft just needs to get everything sorted out here and figured out, because now I'm looking at Watch Dogs thinking, is that going to be another Ghost Recon situation? I'm kind of thinking it might be, but let me know what you guys think about this down below. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike it if not. Guys, I'll see you next time.